So we're under Port Metro Vancouver, which means the port essentially takes the place of what the municipality would usually do for building permits and things like that. And then Metro Vancouver is a regional permitting body versus a provincial level permitting body. But everybody follows sort of what Ministry of the Environment has laid out as its environmental regulations and controls. Because it's a first of its kind technology in North America, there wasn't really a step-by-step permitting process, but the regulators came to the table and have really worked with us to figure out how we can make this technology a reality in BC. It is a German technology and design, but we are working with Canadian construction management companies to build the project, Canadian engineers signing off on everything. Again, also funded and financed by financial institutions in Canada and then grants. This was another huge draw for us to come into Canada. There is a lot of money available for people willing to bring commercially viable and ready technologies to the market, especially in clean energy, which I think is big for this group. We have 2 grants, one from the federal level, Natural Resources Canada's Clean Energy Fund. You can see they've invested nearly $800 million over the last 5 years in clean energy technologies. And then provincially, we have a grant from the BC Bioenergy Network. And their sole goal is to develop bioenergy in British Columbia. So, waste streams, which is what we're going after, but BC obviously has an immense amount of biomass available for energy as well. Finally, we needed to secure a power purchase agreement, a PPA. We did that through BC Hydro, which is the provincial sort of crown corporation utility, through their community-based biomass program. One thing that we didn't expect, but we found in BC, which was unique and great for our business, is that not only does BC put a value and a premium on renewable electricity, they also put it on renewable natural gas versus fossil fuel natural gas. That is not something that we have really found ever in the States. Utilities willing to pay more for renewable natural gas and even just distinguishing between renewable natural gas and fossil fuel natural gas. So we actually almost went the route of producing natural gas at this facility versus electricity, and that was sort of a huge boom for us coming into the market. It made our business model pencil and that kind of thing, so that was very huge. Of course, things have worked well and things have not worked so well. As you can see, from what I was saying, there are policies and targets in place that make the feedstock available for us to divert it from the landfills and compost it. The bans I was talking about, high landfill tip fees, that goes for both Ontario and for BC, and as well as values to the renewable energy that we're producing. So that has been a huge move for us. Having infrastructure in place also helps. People are familiar with separating out yard waste from the rest of their waste stream. They want it to go to beneficial reuse. It's not a new concept to them. Separating food waste out is a new concept, but it's something that we can educate and it makes sense in people's minds. There are disadvantages to that, and I'll get to that in just a second. We also were able to come in and provide a cost savings. Our customers are largely municipal and then private industry, and they are not looking to do just the right thing. They are also looking to save a little money, and so being able to come in and offer that is incredibly important. And I think finally, there is excitement, especially in BC, around showcasing new technologies, offering innovative solutions to some of the problems that we're facing. Even the permitting agencies, as I said, we didn't have a set permitting track, but everybody came to the table to get this thing off the ground. Of course, not everything is perfect, and we did have to learn more than just learning how to spell odor with a U. The permitting process hasn't been easy. It's the first of its kind, but also there is a complete separation between the folks that are regulating us and the waste diversion folks who are saying, take all this material that we're separating out of our waste streams, and it's so great, and we're just going to dump more and more and more at you. And then we're going to the regulators and saying, hey, you guys are sending us all this material, we need to get this thing off the ground. And so there's a disconnect there, and that has been a struggle to connect the dots between the various agencies that are involved. There's still an international border. People, I think, often forget that. We aren't able to move our compost products into the States from Canada right now. Obviously, we want to use that material locally as much as we can, but Bellingham is arguably a lot closer to Richmond than it is to Seattle. Skagit and Whatcom counties have huge farming communities that really could use the organic matter that we're producing. And right now, we just can't get that material across the border. It's very interesting, specifically, the regulations that we have to meet to sell compost into the local market are totally different than the regulations that we have to meet to export it. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency has different regulations in place than MOE. So, I would encourage you, if you're going to set up shop in Canada, to look obviously at the local permitting regulations. But if you're thinking about moving material across the border, check those too, because they might not match. I mentioned that infrastructure can sometimes be a disadvantage as well. I think that in BC and Ontario, both people, the rules and laws that were coming into play were very aggressive and very progressive, and it opened the door for some not so great operators to come in with maybe not the right technology and cause some problems that have left a bad taste in people's mouth. Specifically in Ontario, we had to create a public liaison committee to help educate people and explain to them, how we were going to improve the situation. I think finally, with these aggressive goals and things like that, everybody's all about diversion, but they don't remember that we're producing a product as well. And so kind of closing the loop for them and doing education is important. So finally, using the parlance of our time, the triple bottom line, the people are receptive, the culture is there, we're moving from the status quo to next generation, sustainable policies are in place, the regulations are catching up, and there certainly are monetary incentives and financial partners when we are offering a practical, cost-effective solution. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Elizabeth. That was a very interesting presentation. Enjoyed it. Our final speaker, Greg Bainbridge, is the Manager, Industry Development with the Edmonton Economic Development Corporation. So in his current capacity, Greg's focus is on the attraction and development of Edmonton's key economic sectors. Prior to working with the EDC, he spent 5 years with TELUS Communications as the bid manager for their Business Solutions unit. Having moved from Vancouver 7 years ago, Greg now calls Edmonton home and is active within the sport and volunteer community. Greg is a CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst, and holds a Bachelor of Mathematics degree from the University of British Columbia.
Thanks, Richard. I actually grew up in White Rock, so that's as pretty much as an American as any Canadian can get. Thank you, everybody, for having me. Thank you, Richard, for the kind introduction. I'm going to chat about something a little bit different than our previous two speakers, and my goal today is really to bring you up to speed about what's going on in Alberta, more specifically Northern Alberta and Edmonton, and some of the opportunities that might be there for yourselves. So maybe just by a quick show of hands, who's been to Alberta? Okay, who's been to Edmonton? So I think most folks in the room know that we value our hockey team pretty seriously. And I'm not sure if everybody in the room is aware, but our owner came down to Seattle to check out the possibility of moving the team. So my first point is back off. But for those of you who aren't aware, I'm sure where we are. I am from Edmonton. I am going to try and make it as general as possible in talking about the Alberta economy. But this is where we're located. As you can see, Seattle there. So that sets the stage. And I got a lot of stuff here on how great Canada is as an opportunity for business, but I think Richard did a really good job of chatting about that already. So I'm just going to go through these pretty quickly. Obviously, a very educated workforce to support our growth. Here you can see a little bit of how beautiful Alberta is. Here you can get about vacation as well. The really nice thing about Alberta is the tax environment. Lowest tax province in the country, and that is because of our bountiful energy resources. There's no sales tax. There's a flat 10% income tax across the board for the province of Alberta, so it's very cost competitive. Now this is essentially